Let's get this party started. Okay, welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the day 2 of the June convening of the Kentucky Board of Education. Happy to have those of you who are joining us virtually, and especially those of you who are here with us in person today. Board members, I hope you had a good chance to rest last night and be prepared for a second day of important work ahead. It's going to be an exciting day. We love our excellence in education celebration. Thanks to Stacy and the team for pulling that off. We'll say a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but let's get started, Dr. Brewer, with the roll call.
Joanne Adams.
Here.
Holly Bloodworth.
Here.
Jamie Bowling. Oh,
I'm back.
There we go. Thank you, Jamie.
Got her.
Patrice McCrary.
Here.
Randy Poe.
Here.
Sharon Robinson.
Here.
Lee Todd.
Here.
Steve Trimble.
Here.
Lou Young.
Here.
Joanna Stevens.
Here.
Jude Dale.
Here.
Secretary Link.
Here.
Okay, Chair, you do have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you. And welcome back today, Alyssa Riley, who is our new teacher rep. And so glad that you could join us for both days of a pre-meeting. So that's above and beyond.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're delighted to invite Secretary Link, the Secretary of Education and Labor Cabinet, to share his report with us. Glad you're here, Secretary. Please take it away.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the board and staff and guests. If okay, I will give you a brief update and happy to take any questions, and then I'll need to excuse myself because I get to go up here before a legislative committee this morning, but I hope to join you in person immediately following that, if that's okay.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much.
I wanted to start by acknowledging the passing of Virginia Moore. I think most every Kentuckian became best friends with Virginia during the pandemic and the governor's daily updates on the COVID pandemic and Virginia's interpretive services, and became quite a celebrity. I just noticed in Lexington, they're having another commemorative ice cream flavor called Virginia S'mores that Crank and Boom is releasing. So Virginia truly had an enormous impact, not only publicly, but in her role as executive director of the Commission of Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And we certainly celebrate her life, but also mourn her passing. And I did want to start off with that. On another personnel note, my chief of staff and our general counsel for the cabinet, Sam Flynn, has left to become the new executive director of the new medical cannabis program under the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. So wish Sam very well with that job. It's a big job, obviously, and he will be sorely missed at the cabinet. And I know he's worked with Mr. Allen and others there at KBE. So Sam will be missed. UI, unemployment insurance, is the gift that keeps on giving. That's my testimony this morning before a legislative committee to update them on that. But I'm happy to report that our unemployment insurance staff and other staff of our cabinet have now completed initial reviews of more than 2.8 million pandemic-related unemployment insurance claims. And just as a frame of reference, that represents approximately 10 normal years of unemployment insurance claims that were filed in 1 year. So the impact was enormous. It was kind of a perfect storm of outdated technology, the pandemic, staff reductions, and it all culminated in that period of 2020 and 2021. But we are now moving into the phase of improvement for unemployment insurance and working aggressively to work with the General Assembly on reforms to unemployment insurance, as well as the procurement of a new technology system to handle or to replace the more than 30-year-old system that was in place when the pandemic struck. I'm also happy to report that Kentucky currently has 54,000 more filled jobs today than we did in February of 2020. So not only have we or are we, or have we recovered from the pandemic impact on employment? But we have now exceeded that. And I think all of us have seen the economic development announcements and the results of the governor's efforts to bring more jobs and businesses to Kentucky, to have businesses expand in Kentucky. And that's certainly good news, and there's more to come. So the Education and Labor Cabinet really needs to focus on employment rather than unemployment. So our focus is going to be working on what new and innovative ways we can get more people into the workforce and fill more jobs. And toward that end, we are exploring many new initiatives to boost our recruitment of transitioning service members, not only from Kentucky's military bases, but also from military bases across the country, to promote and sell Kentucky as a great place to come and work, to come and live, and to raise a family. We're also working with the Department of Corrections and the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet on a program called Jobs on Day One. And that is working with our correctional institutions to work with inmates who will be leaving the institutions and assessing their skills, developing their skills so that when they leave that institution and working with employers, that they have a job on day one when they leave that institution. And certainly we feel like that benefits employers by getting qualified workers, but it also benefits that individual to allow them to support themselves and perhaps their families, and perhaps also avoid recidivism and reoffending and going back into the criminal justice system. So that's something we're very excited about, and it's showing very significant results. Also working on substance use disorder individuals and getting them the treatment and getting them the job training they need, with the same premise of getting them on a good path to where I'm getting some feedback. I'm sorry, I hope you're not getting that.
It sounds better now.
Okay, to get them back on the path to recovery and supporting them after they or while they're in treatment, and keep supporting them while they are starting to build a new career. And then also working on apprenticeship and technical education, working with Dr. Hargis and the team there at KBE on, we certainly want young people to pursue post-secondary education if they choose. But if they choose not to, or choose to defer that decision, how can we help them get the skills training they need to get a good, productive job that can support themselves, can be a good asset for an employer? And then if they choose to pursue post-secondary education, either full-time or part-time while working, we want to support them with that. And from my travels around the state and talking with various groups, and especially with school groups, just anecdotally, I've noticed that several students are saying, I'm more interested in going to the workforce, at least upon graduation, rather than pursuing post-secondary education full-time. So we want to give those students multiple pathways and multiple opportunities to their choosing, and then supporting them along that pathway to gain good employment. We are also working, we formed a working group, if you will, and trying to form a comprehensive workforce development approach. And not only with our cabinet, but also the Cabinet for Economic Development, because Secretary Jeff Nolan, I believe that economic development and workforce development go hand in glove. You really can't have one without the other. I think Secretary Nolan will say that economic development is the engine of the car, but workforce development is the fuel. So you can't have a working vehicle without both of those. Also working with the Council on Post-Secondary Education, including KCTCS, the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Chamber Foundation. Also working with obviously KDE and the Career and Technical Education Program. Strategically working with the legislature as we approach the 2024 session on what legislation or regulations we may need to address to make our workforce development efforts even more successful. And then working with the employer community, the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers and others who play a key role. Employers have to recognize that they need to provide workforce development partners with what they need so that we can then take that and then work on the skills gap and the training that's needed to fulfill the employer's needs. And this approach is trying. CPE has a workforce initiative. KCTCS has a workforce initiative. The Kentucky Chamber has a workforce. There's all these workforce initiatives, but we haven't been talking to one another. And my fear has been that we would have workforce development representatives going and calling on an employer, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, another workforce development specialist for another organization is calling on that same employer. We need to be coordinated in our efforts and maximize the use of our personnel and our resources to gain greater coverage and greater impact across the state. I'm happy to report that the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives has a new commissioner. Her name is Denise Lyons, who has extensive experience in the state of South Carolina in library sciences, as well as working on the digital divide in South Carolina. And we think that's very germane to what is going on in Kentucky, not only in library sciences, but also as we try to expand broadband services all across the state and get that broadband service to the premises, whether that be a business or a residence, and to give us another tool to get people employed, whether it be in office, in person, or remotely, as I'm appearing today. So we're excited about that. And the Department of Libraries and Archives is also working with the Dolly Parton Foundation on the Imagination Library. And we are currently going through discussions with Ms. Parton's foundation and looking to staff that office and get that program up and running as quickly as possible. I will also report that the Governor's Scholars Program and the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs is getting ready to kick off here in the next few days. So we're excited about that and looking forward to seeing the presentations and the results of this experiences for these students. And then lastly, I'll report that like all of us, and as KDE staff reported yesterday, we are looking toward the 2024 session. Even though it's just a few months away, we've got a lot of work to do as we prepare for that session. And then as we are in June, dealing with the fiscal year end. And it seems like I'm approving about 5,000 contracts a day, it seems. So it's a very busy time. Even with the General Assembly out of session, the interim joint committees are already meeting, and we're in a very busy period with the summer season and the year-end closeout. But looking forward to working with the Department of Education and its team as we address the workforce needs of Kentucky going forward. And it's really an exciting time in the state, perhaps an unprecedented time where we've seen the number of job opportunities. And it's a bit terrifying of how we're going to fill those jobs. But our team, KDE's team, and all the others I've mentioned will be working together to fulfill that. So with that, I'll conclude my comments and happy to address any questions.
Thank you so much, Secretary Link. I'm really appreciative of your time. You really hung in there with us yesterday and hopefully be able to join us again this afternoon. That just is a testament to your commitment to doing the kind of coherence work that you talked about. Workforce initiatives, education initiatives, economic development, they all go together. We need to think about your car metaphor and find a place for P12 in there. I don't know if we're bucket seats or kicking the tires or the rear view mirror. I'm not sure, but we want to be on that car. And we really appreciate your collaboration and everything. Board members, do you have questions or feedback for Secretary Link? Yes, Dr. Robinson.
So, Secretary Ling, thank you so much for that report. One of the things that we've been really curious and wanting to do is make certain the connection, the collaboration with workforce development, post-secondary, and K-12 is very, very solid. Functionally, and especially as it relates to credentials.
Yes,
So, I mean, we've got incredible numbers here, 54,000 more jobs now than before the pandemic. Are we keeping pace with credentialing and helping young people find those multiple pathways into a future of productive citizenship?
Thanks, Dr. Robinson. I would submit that we can always do better. And that's what we want to work with the department on, with its staff and with the board, of how we can have a greater impact on young people and getting credentials as early as possible. And you all would know much better than me, but the evidence I'm seeing is that identifying a student's professional goals, I'll say, as early as possible, to then engage and support them along that pathway. And certainly young people change their minds and find different interests, but what more can we do as workforce development professionals working in conjunction with our education community to provide the resources they need, the exposure perhaps they need to various trades or professions or educational opportunities to facilitate them or accelerate them moving along that pathway. And certainly we're looking at what credentialing we can do prior to graduation from high school, that they graduate with a credential and gainful employment, or what can we do after? I was just at the Tech Center in Inez, Kentucky on Friday for the ribbon cutting in their new facility there, where they're training graduates on plumbing, electrical, heavy equipment operation, and they have contractors that are begging for trained employees in those trades. So I think working with Dr. Hargis and the team there at KDE is going to be vital to us meeting the needs of not only the students, but of the employer community as well.
Well, I'm glad to know that we're thinking about the sooner the better. I think I often feel that there's nothing more motivating for students than a goal to which they're willing to commit their own effort and invest in themselves. So the sooner we can help every student understand that subsequent goal for which they're willing to work very hard, I think we're well on the way to their realizing productive citizenship. Thank you so much for your efforts.
Well, thank you. And I've had the opportunity to visit and tour several ATCs and CTCs, and it's really exciting what the potential and what the results have been from those centers, and how can we further enhance that and give those students the not only the skills they need, but the opportunities for employment upon completion. So that's what we eat, sleep, and breathe every day. And as I mentioned earlier, we want our focus to be on employment rather than unemployment. So hopefully we're turning that curve and moving in that direction.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Good luck at your committee meeting. Have a fun time.
Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon.
All right, thank you. As always, our very favorite item on the agenda, it's time for good news, and we're going to kick that off this morning with Dr. Poe.
Great. Awesome. It's indeed a pleasure to announce the 2023 Kentucky STLP students. A record-breaking crowd attended the state championship of the Kentucky Student Technology Leadership Program on April 19th. Attendance was more than double last year. There were nearly 20,000 students, educators, volunteers, community members, and parents at the Central Bank in Lexington, Kentucky. They were there to watch the students from across the state showcase their knowledge in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Each year, these students demonstrate what they can do for STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. More than 13,000 students participated in the 50 STLP competition areas. Those included robotics, coding, web design, and newscasting. Throughout the day, judges identified 70 final projects. The students competed until four were named state champions in elementary, middle, high school, and technical categories. The 4 state champions who attended the International Society for Technology and Education Conference in Philadelphia are: best grade 9 through 12 project was Trimble County High School. Best grade 6 through 8 project, Ashland Middle School, Ashland Independent. Best grade K-5 project, Summit Elementary School, Boyd County. And best technical project, Atherton High School, Jefferson County. So congratulations to over 13,000, the 20,000 students in and people in attendance to see what great work our students do. And if you have never been there, I encourage any of you and anybody in the audience to attend an event, and you can see our future is bright with these particular students. When we talk about deep learning, this is what deep learning is.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Congratulations to the whole KDE team. That is no small feat. All right, our next item is Jamie Bowling.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not there. I'm here to report on KDE's Ben Maynard, who was recognized as Making It Happen Awards recipient. Ben Maynard, Digital Learning Coach in the Kentucky Department of Education's Office of Education Technology, received the Making It Happen Award from the Kentucky Society for Technology in Education. Making It Happen is an internationally recognized award program for educators and leaders who have been instrumental in the field of educational technology integration in schools. As a digital learning coach, Maynard provides services to Kentucky's school districts to assist in sponsoring the Student Technology Leadership Program, professional learning opportunities for administrators and teachers, providing guidance for best practices for digital instruction, online and virtual program support for districts, and much more. This award is a testament to his dedicated and enthusiastic education technology work. I'd like for us to give a big shout out to Ben Maynard.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bowling, and congratulations to Ben. The next item is for Jude Dawley.
While teaching children to paint at a local art gallery in Augusta, Erica Kegley was introduced to an opportunity that could have a positive impact on her art studies. Kegley learned about Doodle for Google, a national contest that gives K-12 students the opportunity to create a drawing that could be featured on the Google homepage as a doodle. The national winner will receive a $30,000 scholarship, and the winner's school district will receive $50,000. Kegley's doodle was recently selected as Kentucky's winner, which puts her in the national competition. This year's theme was I Am Grateful For, and it prompted students to artistically describe what they are grateful for. The bond that the 18-year-old senior at Augusta Independent has with her mother inspired her to draw different mother-daughter relationships, representative of the instinctive bond the two have with each other. So Kegley, who plans to study pre-art at NKU this fall, wanted to include different diverse representations of mother-daughter relationships, and she did this by drawing animals and people of different cultures. The winner of the Doodle for Google will be selected on June 6th, but we wish the best of luck to Erica.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Congratulations. I just checked, a student named Rebecca Wu from Washington, a middle school student, actually won, but let's hear it for our Erica. Congratulations. And it's so pretty. And then to Mrs. McCrary.
Yes. And I also get to brag about some of our educators. One of my favorite things to do. 4 Kentucky educators have been named as finalists for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. Each year, a national committee of prominent mathematicians, scientists, education researchers, district level personnel, and classroom teachers recommend up to 108 teachers to receive these prestigious awards. The award is given to up to 2 teachers in either mathematics or science from each state, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. territories included, along with schools operated by the Department of Defense in the United States and overseas. The 2023 state finalists in mathematics are Marcus Blakeney of Fern Creek High School in Jefferson County, and Benjamin Mulberger of Atherton High School in Jefferson County. And then we have our 2023 state finalists in science, and they are Matthew Bryant of South Warren High School in Warren County, and Brian Welch of Madisonville North Hopkins High School, Hopkins County. The awards program is administered by the National Science Foundation on behalf of the White House Office of Science and Technology, their policy. Congratulations to Marcus, Benjamin, Matthew, and Brian. And my understanding is they are invited to have lunch with us today. So we'll be able to congratulate them in person.
Excellent. Thank
Great
you.
accomplishment.
I had a presidential award winner in science when I was superintendent in Jessamine, and I could attest to the fact that that is a very high
honor.
educational bar and an honor. Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah.
And then our last good news item this morning is with Miss Bloodworth.
Yes. 3 Kentucky high school seniors have been named part of the 59th class of U.S. presidential scholars. United States Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona announced the 2023 scholars on May 10, recognizing 161 high school seniors for their accomplishments in academics, the arts, and career and technical education fields. The 3 Kentucky students recognized were Arnav Darhamgadi from Russell High School and Russell Independent, Beatrice Alveria Altunes, South Warren High School, Warren County, and Cecilia Ann Rogers, Nelson County High School. The White House Commission on Presidential Scholars selects scholars annually based on their academic success, artistic and technical excellence, essays, school evaluations and transcripts, and demonstrated commitment to community service and leadership. This year's U.S. presidential scholars will be recognized for their outstanding achievements this summer with an online recognition ceremony. So congratulations to Arnav, Beatrice, and Cecilia.
Excellent. Excellent. So many congratulations all around. Also a favorite part, Alyssa, is the chance for board members to offer some time for sharing. According to our board policy, the agenda at every one of our regular meetings includes an item where board members can raise issues that you would like to have on an agenda, or ask for clarification or discussion, or refer to a committee, or about an item that might be scheduled for a future board meeting, as well as an opportunity for us to just share any work that we've done out and about between board meetings. So the first example, Patrice, I'm going to lean on you to tell us about your whole school, whole child, whole community event out in Omaha, where you represented us so well, I hear.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure to be in the midst of such amazing people as part of the grant that we received 5 years ago. One of the requirements is professional development, and that professional development's purpose is to equip funded agencies and teams with knowledge and skills to pass on to schools and districts. So that first week of May, a team was sent, and we were a very unique team. if you'll look it's difficult to see in some of the photos. The far right photo, we are standing in Iowa, and we're standing in 2 states. That was exciting. Nebraska and Iowa at one time. So 1 foot in one and one in the other. But our team was made up of Jim Tackett, Katie, our wonderful leader, Stephanie Bungie. She is the second from the right. She is also one of our wonderful KDE individuals. Tiffany Runyon, who is a Prisky in Fayette County. Dan Costello, who is at GREC. Over Education Services, and Katrina Kinman, who is a local board. She works for Kentucky. She's a local board policy creator. And then I was the unicorn. I was the only state board member there on the premises. And I laughed and told the team, I said, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked, how did they get you here? I could have taken them all out to eat dinner, because my answer was always, they asked. And so it was a wonderful experience where we talked about the whole child and the services for our whole child and what's happening across our country. We were able to share a lot of the good news for Kentucky and what's happening. And I am proud to say one of our shining star areas was student voice. So that was fun. They even said, well, we need to have Kentucky leading the sessions on student voice. But in this time, post-COVID and all of the issues that they've always probably been there, but they've been fostered even more. This is an important group. This whole child community school group that Holly and I serve on shows that wraparound services for our students. And a lot of this has been able to be done because of the grant that we received. Sadly, that grant ended. It was a 5-year grant, and that grant came to a close, and this was the final gathering that we had for that. That's the sad news. Here's the good news. We've reapplied, and we are one of 19 states that we were accepted to refund the grant. So that is in the works of being established right now. It will have a slightly different look, but I cannot tell you how big this is and how excited I am about this. 19 states were funded. It's through CDC. That the funding flows. Our application was entitled School-Based Interventions to Promote Equity, Improve Health, Academic Achievement, and Well-Being of Students. Whew, we got to find an acronym. And this award will begin June 30th, and it will continue June 29th, 2028. Excellent. It will work on improving student health and academic achievement through nutrition, physical activity, and the management of chronic conditions in schools. The funding is separate from a second CDC cooperative agreement that KDE currently has that is regarding data surveillance, which includes the Youth Risk Behavior Survey and a School Health Profile Survey, but they mesh very nicely, and one is used with the other. So good news. Yeah. Good news. Excellent news. And I would like to make a request that we have Jim Tackett to come in. It is a subcommittee of this board. So I would love for Jim Tackett to come in and share with the board information on how the previous grant worked throughout Kentucky for us and where we're headed up front. He's our new project manager.
Excellent. Yeah, and we're starting to look out to October and December meetings. So Meredith will capture that, and we'll invite Jim. Will you have the opportunity to continue to serve?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. And I really, you said meshing several times, and I really appreciate that, because the whole child movement, the work that your committee has been doing, the work that we do with United We Learn, Thomas's and his team's work around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, all of that is a big tapestry of work that falls under the vision of this State Board of Education. So I love the complementary nature of that work, and I really appreciate your representation there. How did they get you there? I thought they thought it was hard to get to Nebraska from Kentucky or something. All right, excellent. Thank you. And super excited about this next one. You may have seen these press releases. There's Jamie's brother way up in space. So those of you who know Jamie Bowling know that she sure is proud of her brother, John Schaffner. She has been amazingly busy as his point of contact on the earth over the past few weeks. And so Lee and I kind of drain Jamie's brain every time we have a chance to hear about it. So we wanted to be able to share her good news from Middlesboro, Kentucky this morning. So Jamie, tell us about your brother.
Well, it's been very exciting for all of us, and I apologize about my voice. I did not think COVID was still a thing, but obviously it is because I have it again for the third time. So anyway, I'm still happy to join you by Teams, and it was a very exciting experience for our entire family. We all went to Kennedy Space Center and got to watch it privately, and just sitting, watching the rocket and knowing he was sitting on top of so much fuel and the countdown, it was amazing. This has been his lifelong dream. When he was 8 years old, he started space camp in our neighborhood and made all 20 kids in the neighborhood sign up. He used to do experiments and put us in a big plastic drum and rolled us down the street to see if we had the right equilibrium. And of course, I got motion sickness and quit immediately. So I'm not astronaut material, but he is. But it's been his lifelong dream. And he was able to join up with Axiom Space. And so he was the pilot of the SpaceX Dragon that just came down. They spent 8 days at the International Space Station, and he did a number of experiments from there, a lot of genetic sequencing and things that are way above my pay grade, but interesting things that I can't wait to hear about. He's coming to visit me next week. But the biggest thing was what he was able to do for our students in Middlesboro. We are a tiny little town in a tiny little district. And for us to have an astronaut has been a big deal for our students. They have followed him all year as he has trained and prepared for this. And the thing is, it's not about my brother's story. It's about an inspiring and life-changing educational journey for our children here in Middlesboro. You know, it's about igniting a passion for STEM so that our students can pursue their own ambitions, whatever that may be. The picture you're looking at is at our central auditorium, and we were able to do a video chat with John from space. Our auditorium was filled with students and parents and community people, even though school was already out of session. They came back to watch. He did an experiment with one of Newton's laws of motion. Everybody held a ping pong ball, and he held a ping pong ball, and he said, drop your ping pong balls, except our auditorium was full of ping pong balls, except for his, which was still floating around right in front of his face. So he explained that to students. So it was a great hands-on experience for our students. And it was so joyful to hear so many students walking out saying, you know, I want to be an astronaut too. You know, he's from here and he's an astronaut. So even though they may not be astronauts, it opens up a whole massive career branch, because aerospace is just full of so many opportunities. Now my brother's mission is outreach to schools. While he was in space, he prepared like 5-minute videos, like how do you brush your teeth in space? How do you sleep in space? How do you eat in space? And he has actually been in contact with our own Erica Baker, who is our science academic standards person. And I think she will be posting things on the teacher resource pages. So if they're teaching about space, they can draw from things that my brother is going to provide. So his big thing is helping with STEM content with schools anywhere. And I'm really proud of him. He's going to take this experience and try to pass it on to students. And I think that will be his real legacy. But thank you for letting me share this. I am extremely proud of him.
Oh my goodness, as you should be. And I love it as a great board member. The first thing you did was reach out to say, is there a way we can share this with Kentucky kids?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love your heart for the work and John's as well. You know how much I love Middlesboro and how beautiful I think it is. And so when you drive into Middlesboro, there's a sign that says home of Lee Majors. Now needs to say Middlesboro, Kentucky, home of Lee Majors and John Schaffner. So can we make that happen?
Astronaut number 598.
Perfect. There you go. He's even got his own number.
I would like to say something to Patrice. If you would come visit me, Patrice, you can stand in 3 states here: Kentucky,
That's right.
Tennessee, Virginia.
That's right.
Next week when your brother's there, would that work?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Photo op with an astronaut.
Right.
Excellent.
Yes. Thank you
So
for letting me
excited.
share. But I do hope to provide things for our students in Kentucky as they see fit to use the material.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Just amazing. And then really from the sublime to the ridiculous, I did want to share that we have some thoughts about a committee structure. I could put this in as a discussion item yesterday, but it seemed like a good time to talk about this today. As you guys may recall, we've had 2 standing committees. We've had ad hoc committees around Portrait of a Learner and some other work, but our standing committees have been curriculum and finance and operations. And because of some changes in state law, Robin and her team didn't need us as much in terms of a committee. So we had a very small committee under Lee's chairmanship to look at those items, but it's very likely that there will be little, if any, work that needs to be done at the committee level in that area. So one of the things I wanted to think about was, do we want to continue with committee work? And if so, we want to make sure it's viable and important, not just perfunctory. So the other kind of dilemma for us is that when we have committee meetings, one agenda might be unusually long, one might be unusually short, and we have kind of hiccups with our schedule, trying to maximize your all's time and not having a lot of committee meetings outside. And I forgot to mention, of course, we have the longtime standing committee of awards, which we do handle virtually. So that's always an option for us. I'd like you to be thinking between now and our August meeting when we retreat about what a satisfying, efficient, and effective committee structure might look like. I have a couple I want to toss out for your thinking. I generally don't like the notion of the curriculum committee because really in Kentucky, curricula are the responsibility of school-based decision-making councils at the local level. We do have standards teams, of course. We have Mickey and her team as chief academic officer. So it's not that we don't engage in some level of curriculum, but I'm thinking a rebranding, Holly, of that committee around teaching and learning with an emphasis on United We Learn might make sense as we move forward and might give some substance to the work of that committee in a broader way. And I think the name there does matter in terms of the kinds of topics that we grapple with. And then another suggestion, full credit to Meredith on this one, I've really kind of fallen in love with this notion, that we would have a state schools committee where we would actually have the opportunity for that team to get more familiar with the area technology centers that we govern, as well as the Kentucky School for the Deaf and the Kentucky School for the Blind. I know that I have learned so much in the past 3 years about that work that I didn't know after, and was a lifelong educator. So just I've learned so much about that. And I think perhaps that would be a forum for the leaders and educators and students in those schools to engage with us on a more in a more intentional way as we move forward. So I kind of like the idea of that might be a standing committee for us as well. So if you like those ideas, I would suggest that we spend some time at retreat, kind of rethinking leadership, the chairmanship, the vice chairmanship, and the 3 committee leadership positions would become vacant. We would reestablish our committee structure and then open up for leadership reconfiguration at that meeting. Not, of course, because we've had amazing leadership there, but a good time for us to kind of think differently about how we might move forward in the work of those committees. So wanted to throw that out there and give you plenty of time to think about that. And perhaps there are other standing committees that we might want to consider that we just haven't thought about. So if you have any immediate feedback, feel free to share. If not, we will tackle that in August. All right. At this time, thank you so much to Jude and Joanna for their kindness to postpone their reflection time.
To the Senate. They would like to share
Oh.
before we do.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Before we
I
do.
should have asked that before we did Joanne.
That's okay.
Oh.
I'll be very quick. I just wanted to thank Murray Independent Schools for inviting me to come and help distribute their Tiger Tales anthology. This school has been doing some kind of celebration of children's writing for 32 years. And it's gone through a couple of different name changes, but it's a wonderful celebration of creativity. Every child receives for free one of these beautiful books that is sponsored by their Foundation for Excellence and their PTO. And so they're really just celebrated as authors. It's a K-3 school. And I just thought I'd pass it around.
Yeah, I want to see
Let
it.
you have a little smile this morning.
Thank you. And I love a good play on words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Tell me the school district again.
Murray Independent.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. And who was the other?
Joanne.
Oh, Joanne.
After we heard the presentation on the CKLA
Yeah.
learning in our last meeting, I was very interested in learning more about it. So I went and observed a first grade classroom and talked with the principal, and was just really excited to see what was happening. And, in education, oftentimes nothing is really new. But what I was so impressed with was the organization of this, where our teachers have spent so much of their free time trying to find materials that would help them get these standards across to kids. And it's all very well organized for them. And the teachers really did seem to like it. The kids were just awesome, of course, and I loved being with them. Then I didn't get to observe a classroom at the middle school, but I spent 2 days doing some live scoring there and talked with the teachers and the assistant principal. And the assistant principal at the middle school shared with me that she's been very, very impressed with how well the Amplify has worked with some of the alternate teaching.
Kids.
Yes, no, the teachers who had an alternate
Certification.
certification. And she said those teachers were just really able to shine because they knew what they were supposed to do. And what impressed me most was one of those teachers, when I talked to her kids, when I was doing the live scoring, I mean, they just loved her. And I thought that was just, that was very comforting to me to know how that teacher was so loved by the students. And yet she was able to use that program, to help her in that year when she was really thrust into a program. She wasn't really knowing what she was, that she was going to be doing that. So it was just, it was really exciting to see that at work.
Good for you. Good for you. Was that in Corbin?
That was in Henry County.
In Henry
where I
County.
went.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good. Right at home.
Yeah.
Excellent. I so appreciate your all's willingness to be out in the field and engaging in this work too. That's something I think is very uniquely special about this board. So thank you. And did I miss anyone else? Sticking too closely to my notes. Okay, Jude, Joanna, did you arm wrestle about who's going first? We'll see what pops up on the screen. Joanna.
Okay, good morning.
Good.
On the first day of the school year, I show each of my classes a clip from the movie Fever Pitch. Now, this movie came out when I was in high school, so it is not recent, but it features Jimmy Fallon, who is a teacher, which is cool, but he loves the Boston Red Sox. And then Drew Barrymore, she's a businesswoman, and she just really doesn't know anything about baseball. So in this scene, he's trying to explain his fandom to her. We have some giggles. We also have some eye rolls because it's a cheesy little funny scene. But I share with my students this quote from that clip. I tell them, that I relate to Jimmy Fallon's character because I'm a teacher. I'm not a Boston Red Sox fan, but I'm a part of something bigger than me. I'm a big Kentucky fan. So I grew up going to Commonwealth Stadium with my family. It's really all I've ever known. I get emotional when they play my old Kentucky home. When I'm traveling, I get excited when I see someone wearing UK clothes because I'm a part of the Big Blue Nation. I'm a part of something bigger than me.
Is that why you asked to sit by Lee?
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And on the next screen, I actually put a photo of him in there or not that one, but the next one. There's a photo of Dr. Todd from my freshman year of college.
Oh.
So it's neat that our paths crossed again. But I stress to my students that like I get that I'm a part of something bigger than me. And so as a teacher, how can I create that feeling in my classroom? So I've been teaching. I just finished my 13th year as a high school math teacher. And when I show this clip to my students, I joke that, they already accepted my proposal to come to opening day. They're in my classroom. But I formally asked them on day one if we can chase our dreams together, so that we can all be a part of something bigger than any of us individually. I'm realistic. I know that the love of math is not what's going to unite us all in the classroom, but we do all have dreams. And that's what we're going to focus on in our year together. So my dreams include strengthening their problem solving, their collaboration, their perseverance skills as we study the math. But our focus is on those essential skills. My students may not think they need algebra to achieve their dreams, but they do acknowledge that that collaboration, the perseverance, and the problem solving will help make those dreams a reality. So as the teacher representative on the Kentucky Board of Education, I was a part of something bigger than me, bigger than my classroom, bigger than my school, and I would argue bigger than my state. I now dream that the United We Learn vision will revolutionize education for every student in Kentucky, and that other states will turn to our Commonwealth as we become a trailblazer in education. Speaking of the United We Learn vision, we have devoted a lot of our time in meetings to creating and promoting the portrait of a learner. As I reflect, I think this could easily be adapted to feature the portrait of a board member. You are engaged citizens as you amplify your voices in support of our historically underrepresented students, families, and educators. You listen to their dreams and you leverage those aspirations to guide your actions. You've welcomed the opportunities to engage with the Commissioner's Student Advisory Council to discuss race, ethnicity, school climate, and most recently, school safety. You are critical thinkers as you discuss policies and regulations to strengthen our future teacher pipeline. We have a teacher crisis in our state, and you all are thinking deeply to make informed decisions to create solutions. You're effective communicators as you exchange ideas and information via numerous platforms, whether it's emails, the portal, Microsoft Teams meetings, and even our in-person meetings as we've traveled around the state. You actively listen and you speak respectfully. You even rehearse some of those elevator speeches at our August meeting. You're empowered learners as your illustrious credentials indicate mastery in your fields. You bring decades of experience to this table. However, you realize that we must continue to be innovative, lifelong learners and adapt to our changing world. You're creative contributors as you champion the United We Learn vision and promote the Kentucky profile of a learner. One of my favorite activities was our discussion around the future school at Lake Cumberland, led by Commissioner Glass, where we imagined the different possible scenarios that we could see for our schools. You're productive collaborators, where every minute of these meetings is devoted to improving the future of all Kentuckians. The teamwork between KBE and KDE helps us ensure that every student has equitable access to high-quality learning. So in conclusion, I would like to have a toast with our bottle of dreams. In life, we toast for important events, weddings, retirements, engagements, anniversaries, and other celebrations. So the last day of school, it's a monumental day for my students and me. So I offer a farewell address similar to this, and I outline my pride, my gratitude, my dreams, and finally a toast to my students. It is, for most of my students, their first toast. So today, though, I will toast to you. It is my last meeting. I am proud of you. You all are educational rock stars, devoting your time, intelligence, experience, and passion to our students, teachers, and communities. Being honest, when I dream of retirement, I do not dream of sitting in a boardroom in meetings. But here you are, continuing to show up for us. I'm thankful for you. You welcomed me immediately and made me feel like I belonged in the room where it happens. After each board meeting, I was inspired to look for ways to create more vibrant learning experiences for my own students in my math classroom. So I'm a better teacher and a better person because of this experience. So finally, I dream for you, for us, for our students, for our communities, and our Commonwealth. I dream that every student may dream more, learn more, care more, and be more because of our United We Learn vision. So, cheers.
Cheers. Oh my goodness. Yay. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you
a
so
fan.
much.
I'm a wild Red Sox fan. Every game they play.
I had no idea.
I watch TV at night with my right hand earpiece in, so Patsy can't tell I'm listening to a baseball game. Last night, Jim Paxton, who was in the UK, pitched and won his second or third game as a Red Sox. So I got a lot in common.
Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
I had never written
Right.
it. You have two earphones. Oh, Joanna, thank you so much. Wow, I have no words. So, you had me at Portrait of a Learner. So thank you so much. One of the things I've always appreciated so much from the very beginning is the relationship that you two have formed over the course of the last year. So last night at dinner, we were talking about their trying to travel together. So I think that's extra special. And so open the door for Jude.
Well, that's a lot to live up to.
She's hard to follow.
I don't have a big presentation. I just have some words. But just not to exaggerate, but this year has been like the most fulfilling of my life in terms of opportunity, knowledge, and connections. This year has been absolutely phenomenal, and it's all thanks to my position here on the board. Before continuing, I'd like to say thank you, all members from both KBE and KDE. You guys all have such a special place in my heart because you provided me with guidance and support in a role that is crucial in the enhancement and evolution of education. And I promise you, I could not be here without Stacy, Tony, Meredith. All of you have been just so amazing, and it's been really great. So thank you all. My entire journey into the world of education was and is still fueled by the words of Nelson Mandela. He once said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And Dr. Robinson can testify firsthand that changing the world is one of my goals. Yesterday Mandy was talking about that 1% change. I'm working on that. I still have to accept that it has to come in 1% and I can't just do a whole 180. But changing the world is obviously one of my goals. But his words actually opened the narrative when applying for this position. And they continue to inspire me and push me as my position here comes to a close. And like just last week, I had the opportunity to dive into the world of student voice with the Commissioner's Student Advisory Council meeting. And when asked how we as students identify the impact of student voice, students testified that the recognition of the efforts of students by those in higher positions, and when students see adults take into consideration the concerns of the students and take action, that we know our voices are impactful. And here on this board, I recognize and I speak for the entire student body when I say I am grateful and I am proud to be surrounded by a group of individuals who listen and who value student voices. This position was created to elevate the voice of the student, and I can assure anyone who has their doubts that this board has done exactly that and will continue to support the students of Kentucky. At my very first board meeting, I expected to stay quiet and just listen to those around me. And Dr. Poe and I were actually talking about this yesterday. I was so nervous and I just wanted to get situated. But of course, I couldn't stay quiet for long because Commissioner Glass started asking me questions like 5 minutes in. And it was just a day that I will never forget. Just 2 months later, I was at my first ever conference, let alone my first ever national conference. And I sat on a panel about making high schools relevant with members of the college board next to me. And that was just such a surreal experience. And then 2 months after that, I gave a presentation about school connectedness and behavior management. Then I later presented that same presentation I presented to you all to the CDC, which again, another surreal experience. And then I was also fortunate enough to work on the school safety project with the Commissioner Student Advisory Council. And the recognition in response to that was insane. I had a news channel come to my school and pull me aside, and we had a little interview in my cafeteria. And following those events, I engaged more in creating a change in my own district, because obviously I can't be on the state level for too long. I only have a year term. So I became involved in my district's disciplinary committee and our code of conduct committee, and I'm continuing the work that I was passionate about here and just bringing that to a local level. But my position on this board has opened me to so many opportunities, but what I valued most was the connections and the conversations that I've had. I've connected with students across the state and nation where we have talked about the issues we face. I've had conversations regarding our fears, our insecurities, our hopes, and our dreams. And in each and every conversation, we have come to an understanding and an agreement that we want to better our world and our environment. And what better way to change the world around us than to be educated in an institution that values us? And that is what Student Voice is, and that is what fuels us. We are the future, but we choose to be involved in the present because student voices are powerful and we will be heard thanks to decisions like this. You know, the past year has felt so surreal, and many emotions flow through my head right now. Along with sadness, I'm also basking in gratefulness and ambition because my journey in education is far from over. I will continue to push for student voice and student projects, and I will continue to work on projects of my own. But lastly, I will continue to learn. I'm going to be that lifelong learner that we were talking about yesterday. But once again, I want to thank you all for this amazing year. I'm really saddened to leave. I'm going to miss this seat, but I'm excited to pass the torch that Soliana handed to me. Just last month, in the middle of the school day, I received an email to my KBE email. So I know I don't know this person, but it was a younger student telling me that she wanted to change education and that she wanted this role to be her own one day. And she was just going into middle school, so she was fairly young. And it was that message that cleared away any possible doubts that I've ever could have had about the future of this position and the future of student voice in Kentucky, because students like her are going to be the future. And although today is my last day here in this chair, I'm certain that the students who will follow and the student who is following RJ, they're going to have such an amazing impact. And I'm very excited for you all to meet him and what he has to offer. So thank you all.
Right, I'm getting a little blubbery, so I'll try not to fan. So I will offer a toast to Jude. In your own words, may you continue to bask in gratitude and lean on your own ambition to do great things.
Thank you.
Dream big. Representation matters. Representation matters a lot. And one of the things that you and Soliana have always shown, and I feel certain RJ will continue to carry that torch, is that you take that role of representation very seriously. So you have been a contributor. Joanna, in terms of your representation of teachers, you have always handled that so humbly and so masterfully to be that voice. So when I think about the days are long, but the years are short. And so from the time from Allison to Joanna to Alyssa, I'm excited about the continuation of that representation and voice on our board. And then from Soliana to Jude on to RJ, that same experience. So thank you for your service. Board members, I know you have gratitude to share as well.
I'd like to just say a couple of things. Of course, as a former principal superintendent, I mean, how would you like to have all your teachers be like Joanna said? I mean, unbelievable, you know. I know she's an outstanding teacher, and I know she's an outstanding person. And you know, it's a small world. My son Drew and her know each other, went to college together at UK.
Didn't know that.
And the one thing they have in common, they both love Lee Todd. And so again,
Degrees of separation.
So, and Jude, we're gonna miss that beautiful smile, and you're why we're here, retired, working and doing these things for people just like you. And so we're gonna miss you guys, and wish you could stay on a little bit longer.
Always welcome. The lights will always be on.
I'll say what an absolute pleasure it has been just getting to know the two of you. You are not only wonderful board members, but you're great human beings. So thanks for pouring everything into it. Thank you for being such a wonderful educator and representing our teachers so beautifully. And Jude, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. Thank you so much.
I would just like to say, I mean, you all talked about how much you have gotten out of this experience being on the board, but you two really are what keeps us grounded as a board. I mean, all we have to do is look to you as for the students that we're trying to represent, and to you for the teachers. It just helps us keep really connected to the work and keeps it real for us. So I think you do a lot more for us than this board does for you, but I appreciate your service and I can't wait just to see what's next.
I mean, that is so true. I have to tell you, working with Jude in the early days as a kind of a mentor, what that meant was you would get a text on Saturday morning that said, I need you to look at, and I'm thinking, does this child ever stop? And it was, it was inspiring, Jude, because you're a voracious learner. And it's like, whoa, well, let me get busy. And it has been so wonderful seeing the interest and the curiosity and the determination to find your link with us. And I've just been so pleased to see that there is that link. And in 1 year, you each have given us so much, not just certainly to remind us of what this is all about, but to connect with us at a personal and a professional level in such a gratifying way. We're dreaming big. We're going to change the world, and your help, your contributions help us believe in those missions even more. So thank you so much for your service.
Dr. Poe.
Yeah, I just want to say, last year, coming onto the board, one of the first things I got to do was introduce the new student as a board representative, and that was 25 years prior to that. We started with our first student board representative on Boone County's Board of Education. So the state was a little slow in getting into the game, but they've got into it excellently. And I just want to say that both of you are shining examples of our public education system. So that is right. That's why I'm here, and you guys make me proud. The conversations we've had over the last year are deep conversations. And as Jude and I was talking last night, that you see the growth over time of the students because of student experience. And we're only going to get better in the state of Kentucky. We were slow to getting into the game, but we're here now, and it's just going to accelerate more. There's exciting things that we're working about, but not only student voice at the board level, but student voice at that classroom level. That's our next step that we've got to take in order to really go deeper into learning and listen to the students about what is good instruction, what's not good instruction. So I just thank you for those conversations and being those pioneers. It's not easy to come to these meetings and sit on these boards and then go back and face your peers about different things and why are we doing this, why are we not. So you guys are rock stars, shining examples. So thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Todd.
And I got to say, she does come from
You're
great
from
school.
Boone.
Have to throw that one in.
Yeah, it's been such an honor for me to be on this board with the permanent members or the semi-permanent members, the award-winning teachers that care so much and bring such passion and knowledge. And then you have these entities that come in to serve on a temporary basis in a way. We'd like to keep you, but we need you out there. We need you exposing yourself to those students who need to think bigger, need to be a part of something bigger. They need to realize that there are good things going on in this state. There are exciting things going on. And have people as committed as you all are to what you do is what gives me hope that this state someday may pull itself out. There's a book that President McVeigh, who was president of the University of Kentucky many years ago, when they had the Scopes monkey trial going on, he really helped turn the country around. He wrote a book on the future of education and said the doors open slowly in Kentucky. And they have opened slowly. We had them wide open for a while. We've got a risk now that they're not as open as they could be. But with people like you all out there doing what you do, and people like those sitting around this table, we've got a shot. Got to make sure we keep it up. We push hard because the state needs this. The only way to win, as you quoted earlier, is this is our best weapon to change the state of Kentucky. It's not a weapon, it's a gift. And if you have that passion that you exude when you stand and talk about this, that shows. And we need you out there. Thank you all. Thank you. She's from good school too.
Just echo everything everyone else has said. Thank you for your time, your dedication, your beautiful personalities. I've grown to admire you so much, and I've grown to love you, and I just going to miss you. Don't be a stranger.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is a hard turn, but we will now turn our attention to the consent agenda.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
chair.
As a reminder, the consent agenda is designed to allow for approval of several items in one action. Our staff members have identified these items as non-controversial and routine in nature. The consent agenda was distributed to members in advance of the meeting to allow sufficient time for review. As always, though, you are invited to move any item out of consent into full discussion. Do we have a request for any such movement? Hearing none, then I would ask the board to entertain a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Todd, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bloodworth. Oh, thank you, Ms. Bowling. On that motion and second, before I call for a vote, do we have any discussion of any item? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving consent, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, I would welcome to the table Kentucky High School Athletics Association Commissioner Julian Tackett, as well as our own General Counsel Todd Allen. And Commissioner Tackett, if you would join us, welcome. And introduce your teammate.
Good morning, Dr. Young. Chad Collins is our general counsel, and I do the lawyer thing, and I try to stay in the middle.
I think this is the first time I've seen Chad. I've emailed with Chad. Let them play. I've emailed with Chad, but I haven't seen it.
So board members, what you have before you is the recommended amendment to 702 KAR 7065. Big picture, this is the regulation that designates the Kentucky High School Athletics Association as the board's agent for management of middle and high school athletics, interscholastic athletics in the state. On a regular basis, the Kentucky High School Athletics Association proposes to this board amendments to the regulation and the documents that are incorporated by reference. I can let Commissioner Tackett explain that in a little bit more detail, that process, how it works. Largely, the amendments that are proposed before you today are to conform with legislative changes by the Kentucky General Assembly. So I will turn it over to KHSAA to present the recommended changes.
Thanks, Mr. Allen. Without going into a long, lengthy detail, we'll be glad to answer any questions, but the vast majority of the changes have been incorporated by the last two legislative changes where there was some eligibility issues around students that lived out of district, that the legislature passed one rule and then they amended it again this year. And there were other issues they addressed statutorily about NIL and some other issues about participation. Our schools have been relatively quiet in terms of things they've proposed. Probably the one that got the most attention last summer was a change. Our schools have long had a policy specific to one sport, being basketball, about participation in the fall on outside teams. And it historically came from a collaboration with parks departments who didn't want our high school kids taking all their league spots. So they passed a rule that said if you played for a school, you couldn't play for someone else. The delegates amended that last year. That came to a little bit of a flashpoint last fall when there was a fundraising event that a potential Division I signee wanted to play in, and it was prohibited. And Unfortunately, in our case, rules are rules kind of put us in a bind, but they did change it to make some more allowances for this year. The rest of the changes there is literally a cascade of changes necessary by each thing that the legislature got involved in. So that's the majority of what you have before you. Regardless of your action today, we'll be back before you in the fall because we have some annual reporting we do, and that's been deferred till the fall meeting where we report to you about Title IX visits and what we're seeing in our schools. We suspended those visits, obviously, for a couple of years because of COVID, and now we got back out on the road and we can share with you those findings in the fall. But for now, it's the regulatory changes that we're moving through the process.
Excellent. Board members, I know you've had a chance to look at these. There's a lot of details about the statutory changes that Commissioner Tackett mentioned. Does anyone have questions for the KHSAA team? Hearing none, I would ask the board to entertain a motion to approve the amendment to 702 KAR 7:065. To include the designation of agent to manage middle and high school interscholastic athletics, as well as the details of the bylaws changes as they've been described.
So made.
Mr. Trimble, do I have a second? A second from Dr. Robinson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. And you're welcome back in the fall and in the midwinter and in the spring, anytime you want to hang out.
Be glad to do so.
No, you won't. Thank you
all.
so much. Thank you, Todd. And thanks for all the background detail. It was very helpful for me as I worked through that item.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
No worries.
I cannot believe that.
Happens to the best of us. And thank you for staying, Mr. Allen. The next item is the hearing officer's report. We have a statement of consideration regarding Kentucky's assessment and accountability system. So we have the Office of Assessment and Accountability team joining Todd, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Chair Young. The hearing officer's report for information purposes only is located in your board packet, but the item that does require action by the board at this point in time is approval of a statement of consideration. We have Associate Commissioner Rhonda Sims from the Office of Assessment and Accountability, as well as Policy Advisor Reagan Satterwhite from the Office of Career and Technical Education. The comment that was received was actually an agency comment, and that was made in order to bring the regulation that was previously approved by the board in line with changes through Senate Bill 25 to the statute. So for timeline purposes, the board approved amendments to the regulation. The General Assembly was in session and made some changes that impact the regulation via Senate Bill 25. So now we're bringing it back before you just to make a few final tweaks so that we're in compliance with that updated law. And I'll turn it over to Rhonda and Reagan.
This regulation obviously gives the detail around what's required in statute for the state accountability and assessment system, Senate Bill 158 from 2020, and this most recent change from Senate Bill 25. The impact of change is primarily in the area of CTE. So Reagan's going to discuss that. I just will alert you that we did make some additional, I would call them formatting changes that were recommended by the Legislative Research Commission.
Thank you, Rhonda. Senate Bill 25 of the 2023 session brought a little bit of detail into the regulation, into the statute for career readiness indicators. The previous year added a work-based learning indicator for co-ops and apprenticeships in Senate Bill 59. Senate Bill 25 of this legislative session changed two of the indicators. The first is that some clarifying language was added on dual and articulated credit. That language was that it was changed to a minimum of 3 hours of dual rather than college credit, and qualifying for a minimum of 3 hours of post-secondary articulated credit associated with a statewide articulation agreement. For us in CTE, that is our end of program assessment. And so what we did in our regulation is remove previous language and align directly from the statute. So what you will see in that change is direct language from the statute. The next change is around the work-based learning co-op and internship hours. Senate Bill 25 added that these hours not be required to be offered as a high school course or during the regular school day, week, or year. And so that caused us to change our current regulation. We have removed the word course, and we have removed the words during days that school is in session within the district-approved regular school year to be in compliance with the new law.
And those changes appear in boldface type on pages 4 and 5 of the regulation that's in your packet. Specifically, the change that's on page 5 related to work-based learning experiences. It's a little bit different because this is, of course, a school accountability system is typically what we think of, but now this kind of goes beyond what the school is doing and looks more to the individual student and what he or she may be doing and giving the school credit in the accountability system for that. Reagan, you may want to explain practically because there is a role going forward for the board to approve those opportunities, what the board can expect in the future.
What we do like about this change is that it opens up opportunities, and I know Dr. Poe had mentioned this in February, for those students who maybe are not able to participate in a co-op or internship course on their schedule, likely due to a scheduling conflict, or maybe they don't have transportation, maybe they have to come back and be in a sport or do band practice, or maybe they just don't have room in their schedule. And so what this does is allow for more opportunities, students that perhaps have a weekend job or a job after school that aligns to courses that they are actually involved in school on their schedule. And so what we are looking at is minimum criteria for those types of jobs that aren't associated with courses to be able to be approved by the board. We would still be looking for school involvement as it is school accountability. So school involvement in the success of that student in their work experience. So perhaps it's not going to be limited to career and technical education. Perhaps a student has taken AP Civics and AP Government and their job is at a law office. That would be a prime example of something that would likely be approved.
I think it's a really good change, actually. It just opens up so many opportunities for individual students, and then aligns the work of the school to those opportunities. So what questions might you have for the panel regarding these recommended changes? Nailed it. I would therefore ask the board to entertain a motion to approve the statement of consideration for 703 KAR 5:270 Kentucky's Accountability System. Do we have such a motion? Mrs. McCrary, second. Dr. Poe, any further discussion? Thanks so much to the team. Reagan, I know you guys have been working on this. We thought we were going to see it a couple of meetings ago, but I really appreciate the extra time and attention to make sure we got it right. So thank you for that. All those in favor of the motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. The next item, we will now turn our attention to our review items, the first of which is the Portrait of a Learner Performance Outcomes. I'm so excited about this conversation. Happy to have at the table Dr. Kelly Foster, Associate Commissioner in the Office of Continuous Improvement. And with her is Sarah Snipes in the office, Program Manager on Kelly's team. So take it away, ladies.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. In October of 2022, at the regular board meeting, the Kentucky Board of Education approved the state level Portrait of a Learner. And at that time, we had the competencies around critical thinker, effective communicator, empowered learner, productive collaborator, and engaged citizen. And during the discussion, during that board meeting, that's when it came about to possibly adding a sixth competency, which is the creative collaborator. And so since then, my team has been working, David Cook and Sarah, with school districts across the state to make that competency part of the work. And Sarah is going to talk to you a little bit today about the process that they have been going through the last several months and where we are today with Creative Collaborator. Sarah, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Foster. So just to provide an update for you all, we wanted to take it back across a little bit of a timeline of the journey that we've been on. As many of you know, dating back even to 2017 when Commissioner Pruitt at the time first charged our team to develop that set of anchor competencies. And so our director, David Cook, at the time worked within the Kentucky Innovative Learning Network to pull together districts who were already leading the way with local portrait development and worked with that group to develop anchor competencies, which then, as you know, have come to be adopted by the board as late of 2022. And so in 2017, those districts came together. They developed those 5 anchor competencies that we brought in proposal to you back in 2022. And then in 2019, using that set of anchor competencies, a group of teachers from across those districts also came together to start to develop performance outcomes and indicators. So how are we going to start to measure the anchor competencies to see how students are showing mastery of these skills across grade level spans of 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 12th grades? So after the board had adopted the State Portrait of a Learner with the addition of that 6th competency, creative contributor, in 2022, we then took that work back to our local districts, a growing number now of which have their own local portraits. And we reached out to cast a further net for more educators who have been involved in local implementation to come to the table with us and really help co-create the performance outcomes and indicators that you'll see in your notes for that 6th added competency of creative contributor. If we could move on to the next slide. So what we've done in the past several months is we pulled together teachers from our Innovative Learning Network districts, again, those districts who have had local portraits in implementation for quite some time now. And we reached out to our new cohort of innovative teachers who have been working with us over the last year to advance vibrant learning, innovation and assessment, and community collaboration in their own classrooms as models and exemplars. So teachers from districts in Shelby, Marshall, Logan, Boone, Fayette, Hardin, Washington, and Bullitt all came to the table with us to design what you see in your notes today as performance outcomes and indicators for creative contributor. In our time together, we came together in a one-day work session, and we really spent time digging in with the support of Susan Dougal from UK Center for Next Gen Leadership. We really took an effort to look across the original set of 5 anchor competency performance outcomes documents and make sure that those were aligned, that we saw that the structure and format really kept consistent across the document. So we came up with the performance outcomes and indicators that you see there for creative contributor. And just to provide some additional context, when we're looking at those performance outcomes toward the top of your page, you see things like a creative contributor would analyze situations and notice unique connections to generate ideas for solving a problem, addressing an issue, or making something new. So that's just
6 of that handout. Yeah.
That's one example of a performance outcome that's specific, observable, measurable end goal of what a student should be able to do to demonstrate mastery of a competency. The indicators are what you start to notice in those bullet points across those grade level bands. So that's really the precise measure that an educator could use to gauge whether a student is showing progress towards a performance outcome. So they're those concrete pieces of evidence to support student learning aligned to the competency. And so our teachers across those different districts broke into small groups across the grade level bands that they support. And we had everything from agriculture teachers to ELA and science teachers in the room with us. And so we're really proud of the work that they did to really co-create this with KDE staff and think that it's reflective of local work as well. So just some additional resources that we're working on, a guidance document to support the rollout of this resource. We are also looking to create a portrait of a learner toolkit. So capturing not only this resource, but things like an FAQ document, a collection of local portraits, any links to additional surveys and guidance as well on a new KDE supported portrait of a learner webpage. The bones of that are out in existence through our Division of Innovative Learning page now, but we're excited to continue to add to that. And then just in conclusion on the next slide. So next next steps and things we would love to just open up for discussion with you. We do have a live Portrait of a Learner local implementation survey out in the field right now. That was sent to districts who indicated that they are either finalizing local development or have published a local portrait. From 37 responding districts so far, 68% of them indicated that guidance for developing a system of measuring their Portrait of a Learner competencies, such as these performance outcomes, would be the most helpful step to their next step in implementation. So we're really proud that the board has supported us in this effort, and really glad to see that this is in direct response to what our districts tell us they need right now. So just want to open that up for any discussion that you have. Of course, we have our local labs of learning as well that continue to test and pilot, many of them what their local portraits of a learner mean for our assessment and accountability system. So we continue to learn from them as well.
We also heard Joanna model how these kinds of tools are used when assessing board member performance against the Portrait of a Learner. So you got a good object lesson on that this morning. What questions might you have for Sarah and Kelly?
Not questions, but I just want to say I love the rubrics that you created. I think that's been a missing piece to a lot of portraits of a graduates or learners that districts have. So this is putting the meat to the bone. So thank you. I really like them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. These kinds of tools bring the model to life. We have had the other 5 progressions for a while. Teachers then take these progressions, develop them into grade level appropriate student, developmentally appropriate rubrics, and you can begin to see then how we can use these tools to begin to build a local assessment model. Mike Hesketh in our testimony before the Interim Joint Committee on Education yesterday even talked about the use of rubrics. So when we have our business and community partners who understand how these tools work, it starts to really come to life. Great effort as always, Kelly and Sarah. We really appreciate your commitment to involving broad representation from the field in the work. So love to hear about all the school district level participation. So
Yeah, I was just going to one other question, I guess, to the team. Great resource. So how are we going to make sure, I guess, school districts are aware of these existing things through?
Well, actually, since
Through
while we were sitting
conferences.
here, I was thinking about, I need to have a conversation with Sarah about the Continuous Improvement Summit. So
Yeah.
we'll be having that September 25th and 26th. I definitely think we'll need to have a session there on this and make sure that the new resources that they're in the process of developing get out there to the district. So between the Monday message, the webpage, presenting at the summit, things like that, I think we can definitely try to get the word out there for districts.
And we also have very close connections with our co-ops across the state who are helping support Portrait of a Learner development through our Deeper Learning grant. So that I think is a great resource. Our folks in the field through our local co-ops will be great communicators, I think, of this resource.
our team's been really anxious to get to today so we can start putting out the 6th set of benchmarks as well. So we use it a lot in professional development. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much. One quick item and then a break because you're doing so well staying right on time this morning. The next item would generally be public comment. As always, we do have that item included on today's agenda. We generally offer about 3 minutes per speaker or share any kind of email receipt, public comment we receive. However, we do not have any public comment for today's meeting. So we will come back for more celebration in the final portion of this meeting, but let's take a 10-minute break. I have 10:35. We'll reconvene at 10:45. Megan, if you'll put up a slide for us, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. So glad we had the opportunity to actually get a little bit of a break this morning, but excited about the remainder of today's agenda. With me today, my co-conspirator is Dr. Thomas Woods Tucker, Deputy Commissioner. He is graciously standing in for this second day of the June meeting for Commissioner Glass, who is in Denver, presenting on Kentucky's work to a large national group out there. So we're so happy to have you at the table, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Woods Tucker for the Karam Award for Excellence ceremony.
Thank you, Chair Young and members of the Kentucky Board of Education. It is indeed a pleasure to stand instead of our illustrious commissioner and present the Karam Award. David Karam served on the Kentucky Board of Education from 2009 through 2016. He served for 33 years in the Kentucky State Senate and as chair of the Senate Education Committee. During his tenure in the Kentucky General Assembly, Karam championed the passage of the Kentucky Education Reform Act, KERA, and led the efforts for the 4% sales tax levied by school districts. This award is given in the spring of each year to state policymakers, education leaders, or citizens who have made notable state-level contributions to the improvement of Kentucky's public education system. Criteria for the award includes demonstrated leadership in policy development, passage or implementation resulting in increased educational opportunities for students, improved educational, post-secondary, or workforce outcomes for students, or increased capacity of teachers or school staff to better meet the academic, social, or emotional needs of Kentucky students. At this time, it is indeed my honor to announce the winners of the 2023 Karam Award for Excellence in Education Policy, Sarah Vivian and Jeremy Cameron. Now I would like to take a few minutes.
Yeah, no, come on up.
Yeah, come on up, come on up, come on up. And then I'm gonna brag about you.
Oh, it's like somebody who gets the Academy Award and they're in the bathroom. Jeremy. Another round of applause. You guys, come on up. We're still talking about you, but join us.
So it's now my time to brag about both of you. I would like to take a few minutes to share.
Just stand awkwardly right
Yes,
there.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So this is what your nominator said about their outstanding contribution in education policy. There are no experts on educational policy quite like those who are in the classrooms every single day. Jeremy and Sarah know firsthand how difficult educating our state's most vulnerable students' populations can be. They both work in state agency programs that serve children and youth who are committed to or in the supervision of the Commonwealth. Several years ago, in 2017, they worked with the Kentucky Educational Collaborative for State Agency Children to expand high school equivalency options for youth in state care. With that move was successful, they began to see firsthand issues in their own blended programs, where state agency children sat next to district referred and placed students in alternative learning environments. Those state agency children were permitted to participate in a high school equivalency program, while their classmates, students who were facing many of the same educational hurdles, could not. They decided to take action. Sarah and Jeremy contacted KECSAC, KDE, and members of the legislature to begin discussions on expanding the high school equivalency program to include youth in all district-operated alternative programs. During countless meetings with stakeholders and legislators, they crafted a draft bill and identified a legislative sponsor, Representative DJ Johnson. Their bill, House Bill 194, was developed out of learned experiences by educators in the classroom and was adopted unanimously by both chambers of the legislature during the 2022 legislative session. Now, we'd like to have remarks from our nominees and any other guests.
Yeah.
So this is our inspiration for starting it all. We both, I am a principal of an A6 program. So all of my children had access to the GED. She has a mix of A5 and A6.
My students were not. I had students sitting in the same classroom, a percentage of them eligible to take the GED, and then a percentage of them who unfortunately we would see drop out. And I just didn't think that that should be the case. So together, Jeremy and I got together and decided we're not going to take it anymore. So here we are.
There you go.
So yeah, it was about an 18-month process. We contacted people here at KDE, and that was not a great starting point, because really it kind of comes down to policy. You have to follow it. And so we found that the law needed to be changed. So KDE folks actually follow the new law. And it was thankful that we had KASA support along the way, and their lobbyists to kind of guide us. And DJ Johnson was kind of like, this is a no-brainer. So I believe there are a lot of small little things in our law that we're approaching next. Actually, she and I are going to the federal level next.
Look at
to
you.
hopefully fix the 5-word problem with the cohort graduation rate that was left in the wake of this law. So we're working with Congressman Guthrie's office right now to hopefully work on adding high school equivalency along with 4-year high school degree, so that our schools can really use this in a way without being penalized. Our districts are still being penalized from a cohort graduation rate standpoint in our system, and that's just the nature of the way the law was written at the federal level. So we're excited to keep fighting.
Excellent. Congratulations. I used to serve on the KEXEC advisory. So when we were able to see this award nomination, I thought this is a perfect example of educators who aren't going to take it anymore. There's a better way for something to be done, and you stepped up to advocate on behalf of kids in A6 programs across Kentucky. So we appreciate your willingness to step up and pioneer this work, and go for the feds. Yeah, good for you. We have award trophies for you. I have Jeremy's. Thomas has Sarah's, and we'll take another awkward photo op, and then come back for a continuation of our celebrations. Take it out of the box, Thomas. So.
Alternative schools.
That means they're really bad kids.
Your students who've gotten off track, or students who come back.
Like a master slide deck. There's no support.
Congratulations again.
Right.
And Dr. Celebration Woods Tucker is going to keep on rolling as we move to the presentation of the Teresa Perry Compassion Award.
All right. Yeah, Tony, you want to kick us off with the intro of this award?
For more than 33 years, Teresa Perry worked tirelessly for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Team KDE, our school districts, and our children. At the time of her unexpected passing in June of 2020, at the age of 65, Teresa was serving in the role as Executive Secretary to the Commissioner of Education while providing outstanding customer service to internal and external audiences, and always exhibiting compassion and providing positive inspiration towards others in the day-to-day operation of the agency. Knowing Teresa, as well as many of us did, I'm sorry, I still get a little emotional. I know that she would tell us not to worry about honoring her, but when forced to do so, she would say to honor and remember her by doing something nice for someone else. And so this is KDE's way of honoring and doing something nice for someone else on Teresa's behalf, someone that we work with every day. The Division of Communications is proud to have worked on the creation of this award with our colleague Lynn McGowan McNear, our Resource Management Director, and Teresa's family, which include her sister Drew, recently retired from the department in the Office of Finance and Operations, as well as her 3 children, Laura, John, and Emily. This award is given each June of every year to a KDE employee who exhibits the characteristics and professionalism Teresa carried with her each and every day. They will be presented with a glass vase, another ode to Teresa because of her love for flowers and candy. Today, we are honored to have Drew, and I believe Laura is here to help give out this award in honor of their sister and their mother, Thomas.
Thanks, Tony. This year, we received 17 nominations for this award. I'm extremely proud to announce that the third recipient of the Teresa Perry Compassion Award is Viembre Nicholson.
We'd like to ask Fiambre to come up and receive her award. And I also would like Drew and Laura to come up and offer some comments if they would like. Please come have a seat at the table. Thank you.
Well, I know that my mother was a huge fan of education and serving others in the community, and no task was too great or too small for her to feel like she's making a contribution every day. And congratulations for this award and your outstanding work ethic. So.
And I want
She
to,
knew them very well.
yes.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I
I'd be
read
very pleased.
what the nominator had to say as well. After you, please. As you all know, Viembre she's an employee relations specialist in the Office of Teaching and Learning. Now, this is not part of the script. She also keeps us on the ball, especially me. So appreciate that. Yes, OFO.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Viembre has served Kentucky students, teacher, and education leaders for nearly 2 decades. She has been at KDE for almost 17 years and has been in her current position since 2013. Previously, she served the agency as an administrative specialist and as a human resource specialist. Viembre's nominator, Associate Commissioner Robin Kinney, worked with both Teresa and Viembre. Kinney said this: "It is as if she was born to be in the human resources field, as she has the heart and the passion to help others. Her superpower is the ability to meet the needs of the staff person calling for help exactly where they are, whether a shy employee who just needs a boost of confidence or a struggling supervisor who needs options for resolutions of a challenging issue." She added, "Viembre exhibits integrity in her work and is committed to assisting others. She is the voice of reason and support to each and every person, no matter their background, skill, or title in the agency. She treats everyone the same with compassion for their individual circumstance." Again, congratulations, Viembre.
Wow. I just wanted to say that there is no way that I could live up to Teresa Perry's legacy, but I thank you so much for thinking of me in this great honor. And I just wanted you to know that I love Teresa and her family. I met her father when I worked in the factory, and that's how Teresa and I connected, because he'd have us laughing all the time. So I dearly, dearly miss Teresa.
Oh, that's lovely.
Now, obviously, I would like to claim Viembre for my office, as we had a winner last year, but I know there are other brilliant people across the agency and especially in OFO. So if you're here, please stand and be recognized here. I know you're here to support Viembre. Any other
OFO folks?
OFO folks?
OFO.
Yes.
Village.
Yes.
All right, more photo ops.
Go for it.
Blue and flowers if they Thomas or.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
So you wanna-
Yes, it's. Yeah, I'm looking for.
Put your mask on. Maybe we can, yeah.
It's on the sides here.
Slide that way a little bit. Pivot. Yeah. And slide. I'm just kidding.
Slides away.
Robin, do you want to just take have a pop on the table? This award. For me, for you. I bet we just a little bit. There we go. All right.
Both for me.
Excellent. Congratulations again. And thanks so much to the OFO Village for showing up in support today. At this point, we're going to look at recognition of the 2022-23 Content Area Educators of the Year. Kentucky is fortunate to have incredibly talented and passionate educators dedicated to professional growth and perfecting their craft. They are examples for all of us, and we are honored to recognize an elite set of educators who received awards this year from a prestigious list of professional associations and organizations across the Commonwealth. Thanks to the team, we have a brief video highlighting these outstanding educators. And after the end of the video in our adjournment, we'll be able to join them for lunch. I'll say more about that in just a moment. Excellent. Congratulations to all of our winners. And at this time, the board would like to invite you to join us for lunch immediately following adjournment. We'll be out in that open area just to that side, and we just look forward to a little bit of time for fellowship with you and conversations with you. And then we actually, on a great tip from Board Member Bloodworth, we're going to actually invite you to talk with us. We have this opportunity to have these excellent examples of administrative, educational, staff, and across the areas, leadership, school counseling, you saw all of the different areas. This is a chance for us to hear from you as a board about wisdom and advice that you might offer us. So we'll break into, I'll explain this on the other side, but we'll break into some groups so we, after lunch, we can have a bit of a conversation with you. And board members, if you're able to say, would love to have you divide up among the three groups as well. At this time, I am open to a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Trimble. And second?
Second.
Oh, thank you so much. Joanne? All those in favor, please respond by saying aye. Enjoy lunch. Thanks, everyone.